up, everybody? How we doing? Oh, I thought I was in a room with nobody else. Y'all feel the same way?
Yeah,
A little bit.
I feel y'all energy. We good.
Okay. See, don't let. All right. We. All right. Bro. All right. So we wanted to at least invite y'all. So if y'all could lean in a really bit, like just lean forward. Imagine that you're leaning forward. So we're inviting you right now to the Mainline podcast live. So everybody say Mainline live. We're gonna say it one more time. Mainline live. So we appreciate you being here. So first, I want to say that my name is Chris. I'm just a guy. I work here, but that's really my only qualification for being on the stage. But I'll let them introduce themselves, so y'all can go. You do your thing.
I'm Jakia.
And I am Janae.
Now, for Jakia and Janae, do you mind what is your passion? What is your purpose here? Because again, I just love talking about mental health. But why are you here? Can you tell us why you're here?
Yeah, so same thing. I love talking about mental health. I'm an advocate for it. I've experienced it and just want to bring awareness because a lot of people do struggle with it and it's not talked about enough.
Yeah.
And I am a licensed clinical social worker, so I am here to provide clinical insight. I call it psychoeducation because that's what we call it in therapy. So just educating our community, of course, a community that hasn't put much emphasis on mental health in the past. So just educating, maybe giving some tips, some skills, some resources, and just letting the Lord use me.
Yeah, and just for a slight unserious note, but I have to ask you because there's a lot of discourse online. Are you a doctor?
I am not a doctor. I am not.
You're not a doctor, are you sure?
I am not a doctor.
So we're all not doctors. Just want to make sure that's clear. That's fair?
I am not a doctor.
But she is licensed, right? We love a license. So with that being said, the first question I ask you, at least for you with getting your license, what even placed you in this field in the first place?
Kind of what I just mentioned, being in the community. Well, let me start off. I originally went to school thinking I was going to be a speech pathologist. And so I graduated, I got my bachelor's, and then I started to get into the work field, and I noticed there was a lot of people who really didn't have any awareness of taking care of their minds. And so I started a nonprofit. It was called Healing Minds, Breaking the Stigma. So I would go to different events and just kind of educate people about different diagnoses, different resources, and things like that. So I'm like, okay, I'll go back to school for this. I like this. I like, pouring into my community, pouring into people that look like me. Of course, they don't have to look like me, but I enjoyed it, so I went back to school, and this is a process. So I may not be a doctor, but I did doctor years.
Uh-oh.
So becoming a clinician would look like, you go back, you get your master's, but then there are a series of years where you have to get supervision, you have to work under people, and get the skills, get the tools to be able to guide people in making decisions or, leading successful lives. This is not something that you would want to do blindly without, the proper training. So, like I said, while I may not be a doctor, in the mental health field, it is very important to be licensed, right? For liability, as somebody who's receiving services, if anything happens, you can always go to the board and say, hey, I trusted this person and, my rights were violated or I feel like this happened. Number one. Number two, you want to trust that they have the skills. So.
And before we continue, is it fair to ask, is this being billed to the church or do I have to bill to somebody else?
I am doing this from the depth of my heart.
Wow. So we really appreciate you. And with you being up here, can you at least tell us what it felt like to or have you ever struggled with mental health at all? Have you ever been placed in these situations where it's been difficult?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I struggled with mental health, like depression and anxiety for most of my life, but I didn't realize it. Like, most of it came from childhood.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, I'm like, at the time I knew like something is going on, something is not right, I'm not okay. But you don't feel comfortable talking about situations like that, especially as a child, because you feel like, they're not worried about me. Like, they're not thinking about me. They're trying to figure out how the bill's gonna get paid and how I'm gonna eat tonight. So nobody cares what's going on in my brain.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely struggle with it a lot in my childhood, and obviously when things go unchecked, it's gonna follow you to adulthood as well. So yeah.
Yeah. I love that you even acknowledge that, or because it seemed like you've done a little bit of work if you know where it came from. A lot of us in this room probably haven't even started the work that it takes to even figure out, oh, that's from childhood me. That's from something that happened. That's when that girl that rejected me in third grade, I might be a little bitter, but that girl who rejected me in third grade developed this like weird rejection complex where I don't know how to respond when people don't like me, or all these random things that turn into bigger stuff. But I love that you even brought that to the table, because like, how did you deal with it once you like recognize that inside of you?
Yeah, therapy definitely helped. Like once I realized this is something that I'm struggling with, I did start going to therapy. That helped a lot. Honestly, just being in my Bible,
For real.
reading my word, building that relationship with God. That's how I overcame it.
Yeah. And then for you, go ahead. Yeah, you
I
get
want
it.
to ask you a question.
Oh, brother. Okay. Go ahead.
Do you have any personal experiences, or I know you were saying like you love mental health, so tell us a little.
So I can be real with y'all. We're cool. Y'all not gonna like throw me out and pick me to the street. It's raining outside, so that'll kind of suck. But I think, especially for me, but I think it's really been a difficult thing because I didn't realize that mental health was an issue for me. Like I always thought just the random ticks of my life were just, that's just who I was. That's just how I was made, until like I had a panic attack. And after I had a panic attack, I didn't know where it came from. I don't know why it happened. I think Jay was there that day. I think that was a fun time. That was cool. I was on the ground in fetal position for a little bit. But in that process, that was the first time when my brain turned on in that part. And then I had to relive a lot of the stuff that triggered me in that moment. And after that, I've been like searching for what it looks like to heal that, because I don't ever want to have that happen again. Even if it does, I'd rather at least know where it's coming from than just be like, you know, I had no resources. I didn't have a person to call. I didn't have a like licensed person to answer to. So it was just me by myself, and I didn't even know I could take it to God either. So that was really difficult. But you know, we're here now. It's cool. Yeah.
Thank you for opening up and sharing. I know it's not easy always to kind of put your experiences out there. I think that we tend to hide from those things. So even everyone who shared everything that they've gone through or their experiences, I commend you, because it's not easy you're already in a vulnerable situation dealing with it, but to expose yourself and become vulnerable again and, you know, use it as a testimony is not easy. So kudos to y'all.
Yeah, and I think especially knowing that we are in a church, and with us being in a church, I think the thing that was the most fulfilling for me and the most like I don't know, the thing that kind of helped me walk through it a little bit easier is that I opened up that big book with all 66 chapters, and I saw people who were struggling with the exact same thing as me. But I learned this through time, but like through not only just therapy, but also just talking to people I get to spend every day with pastors. But like I heard one of them tell me, and I've never forgotten it, but like what you don't let Jesus transform, you transfer onto others. So like everything, like that anger issue that you deal with, if you don't let him transform it, if you don't bring it to him, and of course bringing a licensed person with you, bringing a doctor, bringing a friend, bringing a close confidant, of course, but like anything that you don't think that he can touch or transform, you're going to transfer to somebody else. There's going to be another person that's going to be another you that you're going to transfer, and you just continue that cycle over and over and over and over and over again. And then now we're dealing with like 400 years of us being in this country where we've been transferring the same trauma over and over and over and over again. We don't know how, like, till the day we're still beating our kids because we experienced it from slaves. You know what I mean? Like there's so many things that we got to experience that we didn't know how to heal. You know, and I don't know if you've experienced the same thing, especially because you said that you dealt with something from a childhood age. Like how does that look like dealing with it now?
Yeah, I mean it's hard, like especially because I think when it comes to like children going through things, or when you are a child and you go through things and then you get older, it's like you're expected to forget about it, or like that happened already, can't go back and change it.
Yep.
But the effects of it are still there, and they're still very much relevant. So yeah, I think it's definitely a hard thing to deal with. But like I said, like if you have the right resources, like the right therapist, not just any therapist, you do have to actually have the right therapist to talk about these things with. It makes all the change. Like it makes all the difference. Honestly, just having someone to talk to, and you don't really realize how much you need that until you get it.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to touch on some things both of you just said. So you said bringing it to God first. Like if you don't trust God with it, then you transfer it elsewhere. And it's kind of like the first step is trusting God with it, right? And then he'll align you according to what you need. So he'll align you with the right therapist. He'll align you with the right resources. And just touching off your trauma, because I like to do like faith-based therapy. And I like to believe like trauma is the devil's playground.
Yes.
Right? So if we lead from a place of trauma, a lot of times we're also leading from a place of being deceived, thinking that things are normal, thinking that this is okay, thinking that hurt people should hurt people, things like that. So if we don't get and solve these things that are deep within us, then we're going to either be opening doors for to invite the enemy into other people's lives. We're going to continue to live, and have this depression and have this anxiety and different things. And while I do not believe that all mental health is the trick of the enemy, a lot of times it is, right? So, just being honest about that.
Yeah. And I think there's somebody either online or in the room who heard what you just said and had a difficult time receiving it. Because they've been told the verse, cast all of your anxiety, cast all your cares, cast everything onto God, and then he'll fix it. Where do you bring, like you said, you do faith-based counseling as well. Where do you bring that into that conversation? Because a lot of people are just like, I don't want people to walk away from this and think like, Jesus is the only way through my abuse that I experienced from my family. That Jesus is the only way. And again, he can, I guess, like that's very possible. But sometimes some of us need like a nap and some medication. Right? Like genuinely, and it's difficult. Like, where do you find yourself talking to that person who's like, I heard her say that I should talk to somebody, but like, I don't know what that means for real.
So kind of wrap it back around to where you first started, like intertwining the two. So maybe we're casting our anxiety on God, but we're also trusting him with it to lead us. How I was just saying, like, I gave it to God, but God had to direct me to where I needed to take it. So if it was a therapist, maybe how she was saying all therapists are not the right therapist. So if you're going to a therapist blindly, you're not being guided by God. That therapist might not be the therapist for you, right? So I trusted God with it, and I know God would lead me the direction I need to go. But sometimes we need God's people to help us. God didn't send us to do this alone. He sent us to be in a community with others. So that might look like using professionals, right? Yeah. When we have physical things going on with our bodies, we go to a doctor.
Exactly.
Right? So why not trust God to lead us to a therapist, to use that therapist to help heal us, right? Because sometimes the anxiety doesn't go away as soon as we say we casted it onto the Lord. We have to go through it. And a lot of times we expect that we give God a burden and then the burden should just be lifted.
Exactly.
That's not realistic.
Yeah.
And for some people, yes, that might be their experience, because they do say, the Bible does say, God gives us a peace that surpasses understanding, right? But everybody's situation doesn't look the same, and we have to be realistic about it.
Yeah.
I think that's really good. Also, what you saying just about how, like, when we have physical things going on, we go to the doctor. I also feel like the way that we take care of our bodies, it also like reflects like in our physical health, and I think taking care of our minds reflects in our mental health. Yeah. So like the things we consume, or like, in the mind, like what we watch, what we listen to, these are all things that can contribute to how healthy your mental is.
That's
and
good.
I think that's definitely something to acknowledge, especially in like our generation when it comes to social media. Like comparing your life to somebody else's life can definitely have you sinking in depression. Like, what am I doing wrong? Why is this person succeeding and they have all of this going on? We're the same age, so how am I not doing that? And I think, definitely paying attention to what you consume, what your mind consumes, is an important thing to remember to take care of your mental health. Yeah,
that's amazing. And even hearing you talk, I'm loving where this conversation is going, because I'm like, trying to push this idea of like therapy needs to be a part of this show. Like something dealing with the mind and the heart and the soul is very important. But I think sometimes when we talk to people, especially people who are a little bit older, who of course have dealt with God their lives, but also the enemy, have lived different things, have lived through centuries and wars, all these different things that older people have lived through. But a lot of times when you start talking about mental health issues, they only characterize it as like a faith issue. Like, girl, you just need more faith. That depression stuff isn't real. You just need more faith. You need to stop. You need to let that go. Why are you so concerned about that? Like, don't just pray, figure it out. I don't know if you've either have experienced something similar about someone shutting down like an emotion or a feeling by just saying you need more faith, or that's just the devil, or that's just sin. You need to get your life together, instead of recognize, like, baby, what's wrong with you? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on at home? Have you, like, who's talking to you? Who do you talk to? Who do you spend time with? What are your influences? Like, who do you inject? Like, stuff like you were even saying, like, what are you consuming? Like, why do you feel that the church isn't the space where you can bring those things to sometimes?
I think that we don't normalize certain struggles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people forget that mental health is biblical. We have a lot of people in the Bible who have struggled with mental health. We have Job, who is one of our favorites that we mentioned. He was ready. He was saying, I cursed the day I was ever born, right? We have Elijah, who was ready to die as well. And we have to remember that the first thing God did for him was give him rest. Exactly. So rest is biblical, right? We have Legion, who was full of demons, and God cast all of those demons out. So common day word, we might call that schizophrenic.
Exactly.
Right? We have anxiety, we have distress, we have grief. Naomi, who lost all her sons and her husband, she was like, she wanted to call her name because now she's sad for the rest of her life. Yeah. Right? So we have all these things that are happening in the Bible, and we want to talk about only certain parts of the Bible. We don't want to talk about the things that are, different struggles. We only want to focus on different struggles, but this is real, right? And then historically, like you were saying, there have been years of us ignoring our mental health, ignoring our trauma, and we get comfortable with ignoring things, as I mentioned before. A lot of times, even for me, I went to my mom like, hey, I have ADHD. Girl, no, you don't. I mean, we all say that in our generation. Everybody thinks I have ADHD. But realistically, if I brought a problem to you as your child, why is it not something that we look into? Yeah. Right? No, you good. I'm depressed. You don't have no bills to pay, right? Those are the things that we've heard, and that's because it comes from generations of trauma. And that's what we're seeing in the church. Like you said, older people are typically the ones who turn to us and kind of just ignore those mental health concerns.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's very dangerous to promote a Christian life apart from suffering. Apart from struggle.
What? Say that again. I'm so sorry. Say that one more time. They didn't hear you.
It's very dangerous to promote a Christian life apart from suffering. I think that, like, a lot of people, when you're new to the faith, you look at Christianity and you think, oh, like, they living with no worries. Like, their life is perfect. And then honestly, like, you, even being a Christian, you might, like, I think the scripture that we were reading during the Bible study about, like, how we're made in his image and he's perfect. So you're expected, or you're thinking to yourself, like, oh, I need to be perfect. Yeah. But I don't think God is looking for perfection. I think he's looking for dependency, and that's why we suffer a lot of the time. Sheesh. So, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I'm going to kind of add to that because, yes, we're made in his image, but we have to remember that Jesus gave us a perfect example of perfect suffering, right? So if we want to be made in his image, we also have to accept the part that suffered as well. Yeah. But we want to ignore that part, so,
yeah. I don't, that's... Yo.
Look, we supposed to be getting real.
We supposed to be getting real. You're right. That's fine. And I even love, like, the made in his image, like, concept. Like, one of my like weird biblical quirks that I do. Every time I read the Bible and I see the word God was angered, God was mad, I highlight it and I save it. And I looked it up before I came up here because I don't know why, like, that made me think about it. It's about 600 times that God was angry in the Bible. And it's like, it makes me wonder if we are so afraid to experience and feel our emotions, but also to not feel okay, but we're made in the image of a God who has gotten angry, but also been overjoyed at the sight of his son getting baptized, has felt the love, like is love, is continued to be love. He's all of these different emotions, all these different feelings, all these different things, all at once, while being omnipotent and holding all the world in his hands and doing all the things that the songs say. If he can do those things, but also Jesus can be the perfect image of suffering, what stops us from believing that that can be a part of our life as well? That we can't, but also that we can't bring it to them. Like, we can't tell them about it when it's like, no, there's a whole book on books on books on books talking about how they feel the exact emotions that we're experiencing, and that they've gone through the exact same things that we're going through. Even the Bible talks about how, like, Jesus is so, like, there is no sin that's uncommon to him, but also he lived a life that was so perfect that, like, he understands our suffering, but he lived it so perfectly that he transcended it for us. Not to shame us, not to make us feel bad, but he's like, I lived it perfectly so you can see that there's somebody that died for you. I don't know. That's really good that y'all even talked about the being made in his image and stuff. I work at a church, and y'all eating me up right here. I love it. I think it's really dope.
I also would say that it's all a part of the process of sanctification.
Yeah.
Like, that's how we go from being saved, sanctification, and then later on we'll be glorified.
Yeah.
But it's not just an uphill, like, thing where you're just like, okay, it's up and down, and it's a roller coaster sometimes.
Yeah.
So.
And to talk about sanctification too, because I think a lot of times as Christians, we are either in two camps. I'm getting my life together, or I'm better than everybody else. That's kind of the two places that I see a lot of people landing in. But I wanted to ask both of you, especially you, if you could, especially sitting with people and helping them challenge themselves to grow, what do you see as the difference between, like, actual heart change versus, like, just behavior modification? Like, for people who are just like, I'm going to look and my life is going to look like this, and I'm going to change my life to be like this, and I'm going to do all these things just so I can look good on the outside. But on the inside, I really still like to do that thing. Like, I still like to, I'm not going to go there, but but I still like these things that glorify my, like, flesh. But at the same time, I know if I tell people or if I express that I'm suffering with this thing, I can't. So I got to let them know, like, they caught me slipping one time. I got to change my behavior. But what does it look like to actually get to heart change for you?
I think, like, through the process of therapy, I think the only way therapy can work if we're being honest and we're being true with who we are and what we're struggling with. And also, I think that is a true determinant of the true heart position. Yeah. Right? So, number one, if you're coming to therapy and not being honest, you're doing yourself a disjustice. The same way if you're going to the Lord and not being honest, you're doing yourself a disjustice, because the Lord wants us to be honest with him. Right? And I think that is a true determinant. We always say the Lord knows my heart. Right? So even when you're hiding from things, the Lord knows it. Yeah. Right? So I think that's one way. But when we're talking about therapy, I think it's just kind of like saying, like, hey, we call it stages of change. So stages of change might be you're in pre-contemplation, like, you know that a change, or you don't agree that a change needs to be made, you're good. Or contemplation would be you know that a change needs to be made, but you're not ready to make that change. And then so on. So you have a stage where it's making a change, preparation, and maintenance. I might be skipping one. But either way it goes, we do, like, motivational interviewing to kind of figure where people are and how we can get them from one stage to the next. But if you're telling me that you're in maintenance, then how can I help you when you're truly in pre-contemplation? So like I said, just doing yourself a disjustice, because if we're really doing the work, then we have to be honest. Yeah.
Do you think like a lot of people are in the contemplation phase? That you've had experience with?
Yeah, I think a lot of people come to therapy in pre-contemplation and contemplation stages, and I think a lot of people leave therapy still in that stage. To be honest with you, people don't really see it through. People don't stay and try to actually experience the change. And so I'm here to encourage you that if you do start the therapeutic process, see it through. Unless you don't believe that it's a good fit for you and you want to try a different therapist, but I say see it through, because a lot of people do come in that stage. They may think that they're there for a different problem, but you're noticing that the true problem at hand is something a little bit deeper that they're not ready to address. Yeah. So that causes that also them staying in that pre-contemplation stage, because they're not being honest, or they don't actually have the self-awareness to know that they have to work on something.
Yeah. And I want to ask for you, what was the thing that made you decide that honesty was the only way out of what you experienced?
I don't think I started off of being honest.
I'm sure.
Yeah, like I think it was just I was like only telling what I felt comfortable telling. Like I wouldn't give all the details when I was at therapy. And then like that's why I also said it's important that you have the right therapist, because when you are comfortable and you feel like it's a safe space, then you start to like, okay, I gotta tell her this now. Like I gotta, be real. So I think you just have to find a safe space, whether that's through therapy or through community. However, whatever that outlet is gonna be for you to share the things that you're dealing with, it has to be somewhere where you feel safe.
Yeah. And like y'all are gonna get tired of me. If you know me for the rest of my life, you'll hear this verse 10 billion times. But I believe this with all my heart is the verse that saved my life. But the verse is, confess your sins one to another so that you will be healed.
Yes.
That is the verse that has saved my life, because every day before I confess my sins honestly to one another. So that not only was just to people I trusted who could hold the mess and not actually hold me accountable, but actually a therapist, but also someone who could see through all that stuff. Probably to Jay, even though he didn't agree with me with my decision making a lot of the times. All those things helped me with saving my life, not because I wanted to make my life better, but I had to choose, genuinely choose me and choose doing all the things instead of just choosing it because it's the right thing to do. Right. And I love the focus on just like recognizing that honesty really is it, and like not even just honesty, because honesty is just telling people what they ask you. Like if I say, hey, how many things did you eat today? If you that's telling the truth, but it's like, honestly, I ate that many things today, and I really was hungry before that, and I did this. Like getting to a place of transparency. Do you feel like it's difficult for you to? Are you even in a place for transparency? Like because you say you're getting to the place of honesty. You feel like transparency?
Sure. Yeah, I do think I'm like now I'm in a place of transparency. But yeah, like being vulnerable it's a hard thing to do. But I ultimately I think that it's really your only option. If you want to go from who I was with the depression, anxiety to who I am now, the only way I get there is through honesty, vulnerability, and being open and sharing what I'm truly dealing with and really going through.
That's good.
I agree with that. I think vulnerability is very important, especially when we're dealing with like mental health, mental issues. One of the biggest problems with anxiety is a lot of people like to stay in their bubble. A lot of people, if they struggle with social anxiety, they want to stay at home. Or if they struggle with, maybe traffic, they don't want to drive, right? But we make ourselves even more vulnerable to that thing in the long run. So if we start to expose ourselves and step out of or allow ourselves to be vulnerable temporarily, then long term it makes it a little bit better on us. So that's the same thing with being vulnerable in therapy, or like I said, being vulnerable. If I go into the store, now I'm more comfortable with this because I haven't tried to, isolate myself from it or hide from it. So that exposure that may in turn make you feel vulnerable is important to your healing.
Yeah. And this seems like a dumb question, but it just came into my head. Who do you talk to? Like, who is your therapist? I don't know.
Therapists need therapists. Let's say that. Therapists need therapists. So a lot of times decompressing might look like, talking to your coworkers. But essentially, we do need a licensed therapist to also provide us with that, because sometimes we take on other people's traumas. Sometimes we get burned out from, having a whole day of just people dumping on you. Sometimes there's this thing called countertransference. So if somebody comes into my office, they remind me or they're going through something that I've been through, it might bring up things for me. So I have to also, without, disclosing that person's information, I have to also go and talk about how it made me feel and process it as well. So there are things as therapists that we do have to, kind of navigate outside of the therapy room. But I think when you're doing something that you feel like God has called you to do, it's worth it.
Yeah.
I also wanted to ask you, because a lot of people who who might think that they don't need therapy, like they might just have a friend that they talk to. What do you think is the difference between like talking to somebody who's like licensed in this area of work versus just venting to your friends?
So layers to that question. So number one, when we talk about venting, I want to make sure that we all remember that the first place we should be going to vent is to the Lord. Let's start there, because I struggle with that. I was just telling my friends, it was one time I called like 5 people to try and vent, and nobody answered. And so my last resort, I went to the Lord, and then I felt disappointed in myself. And so from that point on, I promised myself that I would go to the Lord to vent about my problems. And if I had a little bit more to spill over, I might talk about it with my friends. But that's my number 1 counselor. Let's start there. Number 2, I think that as therapists, we have certain tools and skills and training that your friends may not. So for me, I use cognitive behavioral therapy a lot. And that's pretty much saying like how the world and your experiences shape how you think, and how you think shape how you behave. So we use different techniques such as like behavioral activation or challenging behaviors and different tools. And so a lot of time your friends probably don't even know what I'm talking about if I was to say that to you. So a therapist has those things that, you know, you can implement when you leave the session to try to make changes. Venting to your friend is kind of just getting it off your chest. You might get some advice, but we don't give advice at therapy. So it just looks different. I know people think like, I'm going to therapy just to get off my chest and vent. No, we're going to therapy to do work. The work is we're going to talk about it, we're going to process, we're going to talk about how we can change these things, and then you have to go home, or you have to go to work, or you have to go wherever you have to go and try these things out, come back, bring it to me. How did that work for you? How did it make you feel? You might go home with some homework, right? But it's doing the work.
Yeah, I think that's really important what you said about like doing the work, because like even when you do, I mean, I can speak for myself. Like I have talked to God about what I'm dealing with when it comes to depression and anxiety, but it's like, okay, after you talk to him, then what? Like now what do I do? So going to therapy and finding those practical ways to like, all right, this is how I get better, or like with anxiety, or like this is how I change my mindset from always being sad and thinking about these things. Like this is how I do it.
Right.
Like this is how I actively put in the work and show up for myself.
That's good. And to land this plane, this is the second plane landing in here. But to land this plane, I really want to ask the last question of why, like, what do you feel like is a good first step for the person who's never considered that they need any help with mental health? Like, what is, like, if I've just heard about it today, this is the first time I even thought about my brain. What is the first step for me as a person? What would you say? Yeah, you can go.
Yeah, I think acknowledging what you're going through is the
That's
first
good.
step. Like if you live in denial and you think like, oh, I'm not struggling mentally, you'll never start. You'll never get the help that you need. So you have to acknowledge what you're going through, accept it, and then you will be ready to take that next step.
That's
and
great.
also, I also wanted to just say as well, if you even have an inkling that somebody else might be going through anything mentally, I feel like you should ask. Because like I was saying before, a lot of people don't say anything because they feel like, I don't want to be a burden. Like, so I do think that you should ask if you see like, no, this person might be going through something.
Yeah.
Of course, lead with love. Don't just like act like you just trying to be all up in their business and be nosy. But, you know, definitely ask. I think that's one of the things that I wish people would have done, like when I was younger, like ask me, like, how are you? Are you okay?
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's good.
So I want to touch on both things you said. Awareness is important, and sometimes it may come hindsight, but just being aware, acknowledging, and then once you get to that point, like kind of learning yourself a little bit more is important. Even if you don't go to therapy first, like just learning, like maybe this is a little bit off. This is not like me. I know last time how we were just talking about the scripture, like if you go a place, like mark that path. So like if I know I've been depressed before, and I know that before I got depressed last time, this happened. This is a warning sign that I need to do something about it. Learning ourselves, being self-aware, and then doing something about it. And so like she was also saying, if a friend is going through something, or maybe you might have some type of hunch that maybe something is off, being direct. Being very direct is very important. Don't beat around the bush like, hey, you okay? And keep it pushing. No.
Yeah.
It's important to be very direct and ask questions. Hey, are you feeling depressed? I noticed this, this, and this. Or even if somebody might be struggling with suicide, hey, are you thinking about harming yourself? Are you thinking about ending your life? It's important that we be very direct, because we don't want to make it seem like these topics are taboo, or we don't want to make it seem like these topics are uncomfortable topics, or they're not normal, because like he was just saying, 1 out of every 4 people are dealing with these things.
Yeah.
Right? So we also wanted to like give some resources for, you know, ways that you could get help. And so one of the ones I know, and I have a lot, so I try not. You want to start with some resources? You want me to go ahead? All right. So if you're looking for a therapist, I would suggest maybe trying out like Psychology Today. They have like filters where you can kind of decide what type of mental health issues you're dealing with. Do you have a preference for what type of therapist, what type of therapy that you've heard of that might work? So Psychology Today is good. Calling your insurance company to see if you have insurance, calling your insurance company to see if there are any therapists in network that'll be covered through your insurance. Those are good options. But also if you don't have insurance, there are CSBs, community service boards in every county that offer free insurance or free therapy. Yes, they're going to want some type of information, rather like your income or do you live in the county and things like that, but it's free therapy. So if that's your situation, you don't have insurance, I encourage you to try out a community service board. If you are at risk, if you are feeling like you need some immediate support, Georgia Crisis and Access Line is always a resource. Are y'all aware? Anybody know what Georgia Crisis Access Line is? Okay, so that's the state level crisis and access line. They have mobile support that comes out to you if you need it. They have brief counselors that you can call that'll give you brief counseling, resources, etc. So that's Georgia Crisis Access and Access Line. Then there's also 988, which is the national version of that. So those are 2 resources that you can call 24/7. You can text as well to 988. Anything y'all want to add as far as resources?
I think you got it, girl. No, but only other resource that I would say is Black Girl Therapy. That's a really good one. And then also, kind of like what you were saying about insurance, because I didn't know, but my job also did like the 3, or it may have been like 3 or 6 free therapy sessions that I got through my health insurance with my job. So
that's good.
Those are things to definitely look into.
That's amazing. So again, first I want to just say thank you so much. That was, I don't know if y'all were blessed by the conversation. I genuinely appreciated being here, and beyond even the resources that they were given, I think another great resource that we even have here in the room is our call center over there, and that's just for straight just prayer. Like we're not prescribing nothing, no medication, but it's just if you need prayer right now. And then we can have somebody who will just sit with you for a second and then say, well, they did mention this, you couldn't get this resource, you can't do this. And if you need somebody just to woosah with a little bit, that's the perfect place to start. But again, we appreciate y'all listening. This is great. Hopefully get to do this again. And again, we give them another round of applause. That was amazing. Like, I really appreciated being a part of this.
And I do want to add, if y'all have any questions that you want to ask me personally, I'm definitely open to having a conversation.
For free?
For free.
Wow. For
free.
free.
Keep it short. Yeah.
All right. So I don't know what we do next. Oh, perfect. She got us next, so we can go.
Thank y'all.